Thanks everybody for joining. My name is Burak, B-U-R-I-K, Burak. A lot of people say Burak. It's Burak, but whatever you want to say. I'm pretty low maintenance. I've been coaching sport. Recently found out that I've been coaching sport for 18 years. My first job was as a summer camp counselor at a sports camp and a tennis instructor when I was 14. So I have been getting paid to coach sports for a long time. And I love it. And it brings me great joy. And I also compete. I play in the AVP. And I've got a few FIVB tournaments under my belt. And last year, I was hired as one of the USA Collegiate National Team coaches. And I just want to give you guys some free content, some free knowledge. So today we're going over defense, like we said. And for people who are on Facebook, sorry, I can't see what you guys are saying. If you want to sign in, you can go to my personal link, or you can go to the link that we're sharing on Volley Camp Formosa. I think Allison can take care of that. Just post that link on Volley Camp Formosa, and everybody can sign up. Allison. Everybody else, I want you to get comfortable using the chat. So let's start writing. I want to hear where everybody's from, and I'd like to just announce it. I know we already have somebody from Sweden, so give me a little type in. Let me know where you guys are from. Get comfortable using your keyboards. Go. Chico, Brussels, Vancouver, Toledo, Ohio, Greece? No way. Iowa, Florida, Wisconsin, NYC, reppin', thank you. Peter from Sweden, Pepe, thank you. Vancouver, Florida, to New Orleans, Denver in the house, Long Island, Hermosa Beach, represent. Nice. Florida, Marina Del Rey, not too far. Phoenix, hey Sam. Came to a couple camps. All right, we got some ex-campers, we got some current players. Newport Beach, excellent. Umeå, Sweden, the very north, the Northern Lights. Cool, awesome. Guys, thanks for participating. We're gonna be doing a bunch of those, and we're also going to start by asking our first poll. I just need to know a few things about you before we start on our defense, on our defensive webinar. I just want to launch this poll, and I want to know if you're a player, a coach, or both. So go ahead and answer that. It should happen quick. I feel like there's just a ton of information and a lot of coaching out there for juniors, and I don't feel like enough people focus on the adults. After all, the adults are the ones who are going to guide the next generation, so they should have the best knowledge. It shouldn't be limited. I don't think there are enough adult classes, adult coaches, adult opportunities for camps. And I do know people who run really great programs who do it. Yours truly is one of them. Our company, Volley Camp Formosa, we run classes every day. And it's all catered towards adults. We do coach juniors, of course, but I want to make sure that, you know, adults have the chance to like pick up a new hobby whenever you want and then make something great out of it. There's some great volleyball players who started playing volleyball after they were 20 years old, after they were 25, and have made a career out of it. So there's no reason why we can't open that up to adults. All right, 69% are only players. 1% is just a coach, and 28% are both. Awesome. I'm going to end the poll. Thank you guys for participating. Let's get down to it. Defense. Defensive positioning. There's a few things that we have to talk about, and we're going to talk about positioning first. Okay? Any questions before we start? You guys throw it into the Q&A. We are going to start. I'm going to start with a men's match. And the men's match that we have selected right here, you know, this is going to be a practice, actually. I wanted to show this because this is me and my old partner, Hudson Bates, who's now the assistant coach at University of Virginia, but he played on the AVP for a few years with me and against me. And I want to make sure you guys can all see the screen. Can you guys see Riley McKibben there standing with his butt out? Give me a yes in that chat box if you can see it. Great. Okay. Thank you. So this is one of our practices. Me and Hudson, this was maybe 2 years ago. The Bearded Brothers, this was before Madison won his AVP championship. This is one of our trainings in Manhattan Beach. We're playing a game where you have to serve the right side, and they have to get maybe 7 out of 10. Or, oh, I believe this one was the defense, the serving side, has 10 points. The offense, the receiving side, has 5 points, and then you play a game to 15. And the serving side is the one who is serving the entire time. So it's just me trying to get a high side out percentage on the other side. So there's a bunch of me attacking, and the McKibbins playing defense. And if you haven't seen their instructional videos, man, tune in. They're showing some great content. Okay, so we'll talk about things piece by piece. I'll let this one video flow, and then we'll make sure that we'll get onto it. Kind of an exciting point to start us off. Okay. Yay. That's the tough way to get a point, everybody. All right, so starting off, they're serving me. We're going to focus on defense, right? And we're going to focus on our defensive positioning. So miss serve is not how you want to start playing defense. Thank you, Riley. All right, so let's look where we're starting the point, okay? Madison is blocking. He's starting the point right here in the middle of the court. A lot of times I see maybe AA players like this, they'll just go right in front of the person they think is serving. Or for whatever reason, they'll lock themselves on the side of the court, near an antenna, somewhere that's not equidistant from the sidelines. We want to be between both players. The reason we want to do this is because we don't want to be too far away from anything crazy that's going to happen. So you'll see when you have professional players, everybody's always starting in the middle of the court. That way, if I shank this ball over on one, Madison's not going to be a mile from it, right? He's going to make sure that he's there. So let's talk about the digger positioning first, but I just wanted to talk about that starting position. So make sure that your blockers are starting in the middle of the net to make sure you're equidistant from everything. Don't hide yourself. And if you need to get out of the way because there's a screen call, do not make your server move. Your server should be thoughtfully and meticulously finding a position which he wants to serve from according to the wind, according to the sun, and the angles that he needs to make the passer pass from. So type in a yes if you've heard this. Make sure your blocker starts in the middle of the court. Can I get a hell yes? Thank you, Minley. I appreciate that. That's a good hell yes. Great, 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 great. And give me, let's write boo, B-O-O. Everybody write boo if you've seen somebody start on one side of the court completely. Has anybody ever seen that? It's a big mistake. Boo, boo, boo. Okay, so we've all seen that mistake. Hopefully we can get away from it so we're more prepared for one-overs. Thanks, Christian. All right, so we talk about that was the first touch, right? Where we want to be on the first touch. So we serve and we're getting into position. All right, we're going to talk about our defenders, then we're going to talk about our blockers. Defender, before the second touch, this is what I call protect defense, okay? You'll notice right here, Riley McKibbin is shaded in the cross. Most often, 90% of the time, we're going to be shaded in the cross. It's not a direct middle position, but it's an ability to cover the entire court in one step and make sure that nobody can stand and snap over instead of setting, or do something like a back set. So we don't go directly to our position first. It's more of a protect defense for our diggers, okay? So that's where Riley is right now. He's a little more direct middle right now. I think again, this is a practice, so it won't be as intense as you'll see it because we get pretty exhausted here. But you'll see him, this is his shade position, okay? Now, he knows that Hudson is not attacking him on two. This is where he's going to bump out, okay? Now he goes to, I'm calling it our base defense. So we got our protect defense. Now he's going to our base defense. Right in the box, if you think this is going to be a line or a cross block, give me a bet. Line or cross block? What do you guys think? Line block, line block, line block, line block, line block. Everybody's guessing line. Ooh, Christian going with the cross. All right, let's see it. What do we think now? Probably line. Probably line, okay? So we have a line block and a cross defense. And look at Riley popping into that. As soon as he knows that Hudson's not a threat to set over or to hit, this allows him the time to release into his base defense, which should only be a shuffle step away. If you have to run, cross over, take 3 steps just to get into your cross defense, you're starting your protect defense too far middle, okay? You have to be able to get yourself into a nice angle defense with just a step shuffle so that you can get balanced like this, okay? We have our palms out in front of us and up, and we're sitting in the cross. Okay, just not cross enough, so I get that kill, and that's okay. All right, and Madison is just floating up there with his head above the net. Okay, so this is good. So we talked about our defensive protect and then base. So we're gonna go into the next point, and we're gonna see they have to, again, they have to make sure that I'm there. Blocker starts in the middle, protecting this. So in the match, Riley's not gonna do this. This is we're in a practice situation, and he knows that probably maybe we made a rule that Hudson's not allowed to attack onto, but this is Riley relaxing into that shade position. Then he sees the ball's not coming over, and we're gonna go over this juke in a second. This is a 3 block. I don't want to get to this yet, but this isn't a traditional line block. So let's talk about that later. He starts in his protect position. No matter what play he was running, he started in his protect position. We'll go back to that play later. That's a juke. That's for 3s and 4s. And if you don't know what a 3 or a 4 is, can you give me a question mark in that text box? Question mark if you don't know what a 3 or a 4 is. Okay. All right. Okay, so we definitely, I'm gonna write that down. We gotta go back to 3 and 4 blocks so that we can understand how that defense is set up. Okay, thank you guys for helping me. That's great. You guys can steer your own learning here, which is pretty sweet. Okay, we're looking at mainly just 1 blocks or line blocks, right? And they do another one. Okay, so they're really trying to mess with me here. I want to see a couple of more traditional line blocks, and we're going to get that right here. Okay, so first serve. Gets into his shade position, not direct base yet. Shade position to protect Hudson so that he can't just stand and chip like this on an over on 2, which is a really effective offense. Guys, you're going to watch the next Olympics in 2020, and you're going to see so much on 2 offense. The game is changing. People are getting bigger. Blockers are getting even more massive. So the small guys are having to find ways to get out of the way of a big block. So you're going to see a lot more on-2 and speed offenses in the next few years. That's my prediction. Okay, so there's his shade. And this is where he pops into base. All right, so we have a line block. And we got a cross defense. Again, hands are in front, and quite normally, palms are up, right? Hands are in front, palms are up. I don't know if I got that kill or hit it, but I'm just watching Riley here. We're just watching Riley's defense. Okay, so here's the shade. Again, this is a practice situation, so if you see this in the match, you'll definitely see Riley being totally prepped by the time that second touch happens, okay? Right now, he's taking a little time to get in there, but after being in this middle position, he's kind of there because his body just knows that's his natural position. And then he gets into his cross position. And look, palms and hands out right here so that he can dig balls in front of him. And it also gives you an opportunity to absorb. When your palms are out here, and I have a hard-driven ball, it gives you space to observe. One of my personal problems on defense is that I put my hands sort of behind my hips in a way so that my arms are always coming forward at a dig, and I run out of space, and then I'm shooting digs over the net, right? If I can automate having my hands out so that I have a little more absorption, I can take more balls in front of me and I can absorb more. So when you're playing defense, defensive position, get your butt low, make sure your knees or your feet are just outside your shoulder, and get your palms up. And arms, forearms should be at about equal angle with your quads. If we're going for perfect position, let's get your arms and forearms equal with your quads so your palms are still pointed up and things come up, okay? So he reads me, we get a dig here, and let's see a point. Good rundown, almost a rundown. We'll see it one more time. Hopefully you get a traditional line block, and then I'll show you guys it in an FIB. Oh! Yeah, sorry for yelling. So we didn't make the rule. So this is where you pay for not getting ready for the onto attack. He's still getting into his protect position, right? And Hudson quick jump snaps on 2, and that's just not something that you can do. You can't give up the onto play. We have to defend on 2, and that's blocker responsibility and digger responsibility. So we're going to move on to an FIVB match, right? I just want to poll you guys. I want to ask one more question right now, and I want to know about your volleyball path just because I'm curious and I need some statistics on it. So what best describes your volleyball path? Are you an indoor-only player? Did you start with indoor and then you only play beach? Personally, I started with indoor and I went to the beach because I wanted to get better at indoor. I never really wanted to be a beach player. It was just easier to get 2 or 3 people than it was to rent a gym and find, 12. So I started at University of Delaware, and then I started playing beach to prep myself for indoor season, and I did that for probably the first 6 years after college, where I just said, okay, I'm playing indoor, but I'll play beach during the summers to keep myself in good shape. All right, almost half of us started with indoor and now only play beach. Somebody went grass to indoor to beach. And 30% are beach purists and always have been. I like that. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks for sharing that with me. Okay, we're gonna move on. I'm gonna show you guys an actual match footage because I know that Riley right there, that's one of those instances where you if you don't focus for an entire point, if you're not cued in for an entire point, you're going to give up points for the other team. And that's just an easy jump snap. I want to look at it one more time. Hudson didn't max jump here. This was a tap jump and a quick snap, right? Tap jump, quick snap. And just because we're not ready for it, it becomes an easy point with no block and a lot of net. As defenders, as a blocker, as a defender, we can't give that up. We don't want to have that opportunity for the other team. And if you're on offense, you want to make sure that you see that opportunity. If you see somebody lazily gets into the court and is never prepped, man, take the free point. For sure, take the free point. Okay? Let's move over to an FIVB match. Okay, this is Latvia versus Italy. Samoilovs and Smedins versus, I believe, the Ingrosso brothers. So, sorry for that volume. So, we're going to see it live here. This is FIVB Fuzhou, perhaps. This is China. I played this tournament with Stafford Slick. And we got the 25th, 17th, something not great. All right. So, we are going to get back to 3s and 4s, and right now we've only seen 1s. We've only seen the line blocks where the digger goes into the cross court and the blocker is blocking the line. And we're going to talk a lot more in depth about that. But start position, middle of the court. My blocker's in the middle of the court. Let's see where we are by the second touch. Okay. Semi-ready, right? You can tell that he's paying attention. This is Samoilovs. For a while, they were the #1 team. Latvia. Oh, and they were. I think Samoilovs was the first team to take out Todd and Phil when they took their 5th in 2012. So I think they were the ones who were like, "What? Latvia beat USA? I couldn't believe it." All right, so he's ready for the onto attack. He's equidistant, making sure that he can cover any chips onto. This right here is his shift. After the set, he shifts, and this is what we call it a 2 block, right? We're blocking the cross, and we're trying to position into the line. That's it. Italy sees it, and they go over. Remember, guys, we want to try to get touches on every ball, and there are ways to do it, especially if we're playing at the A and AA level where shots aren't super crisp. There's an ability that you can have. You can get just a fingernail on every ball, whether you're a blocker or whether you're a digger. You just have to keep going, and you have to position yourself, and it's going to take patience. Remember that it's going to take patience, because you can't just think. You can't live in an imaginary world where you think you know what that player is going to do. Reading is based on percentages, changing where you go and making sure that you go to a high percentage area, that you're still balanced, not a full commit to one part of the court. That's really important. People think they're reading and then they sprint to one specific spot. That's not reading. You can't predict that one specific spot. You go into the highest percentage spot possible. So let's look at it again. The Ingrosso brothers on the other side, serve out of bounds, next serve coming from Schmedens. Okay, blockers in the middle of the court, miss serve again. Ingrosso brothers. Blockers in the middle of the court. Okay, so here's a good example of this shaded position in the back here. The Ingrosso brothers are in red in the back, right? This isn't the position that he's going to end up in, but from this spot, he can be mobile and then get into his base. And this right here is where he shifts into his cross, okay? Normally, at the World Tour and AVP level, you'll see later shifts, slightly later, right? I want you guys to shift a little bit earlier, because I think that the majority of us who are here, who are watching this webinar, we don't have opponents who have excellent vision, who can see exactly where you are and then execute a perfect shot. When I'm coaching, I'm teaching perfect footwork patterns, and I'm teaching patience so that you can just go ahead and get a touch on every ball. When people start seeing you, that takes it to a whole nother level of defense. But if they can't see you accurately, well, then what's the point of playing games with them and shifting late if they don't know where you are in the first place? So we got the late shift, and he got bounced on. Nice hit by Mr. Lion King. Yes. This is why we position ourselves in the middle of the court. So we got a tough serve, and my blocker is now ready to be there for the on-two. That is 100% his responsibility, right? If he were somewhere maybe over by this antenna, right, just hanging out on the side of the court or hanging out over here on the side of the court, he wouldn't be in a position to make this play stably, if that's a word. Right now he's stable, and he can press there and be strong because he's ready in a good block position. Ingrosso gets underneath him, and he catches it and argues for a net. All right, so he was there. He was in a good position in order to press, and that's all we wanted, right? Ingrosso, same thing. Look at this, on-two offense. We are protecting this, and I would like him to be shaded a little bit more middle, but he's in a position where he's able to be strong on this on-two attack, right? Still gets a pretty good jump block out of it. One more with it, maybe a line or a cross block. We'll see what happens. I don't want to watch that one. Too complicated. Okay. Lion King standing in the middle. Here is our protect defense for the defender. Okay. Walking in kind of nonchalantly. Maybe he would have been victim to an on-two, but we don't have a good enough pass to go on-two, so we don't need to. And then we have a late move. Okay, so we talked a lot about the one block, and that's the most common design, where you have your blocker blocking line and you have your defender defending cross. And remember, we have our protect position, which is blocker in the middle of the court and defender shaded middle, not direct middle, right? Shaded middle, because you only want to be a shuffle step from your defense. And after the set, after we realize there's no threat for on-two, we're making sure, boom, now you take your shuffle step and you can defend that and you can be stable. And that's a really easy way to play defense. Line blocks is the most common defensive formation, and it works out the most. So we have that, and we talked about our defenders for the most part. now we need to talk about our blockers and where they are. So give me a yes if you're a blocker in this column. I want to see how many people we're talking to that actually are at the net, throwing their hands up there. Brendan is a blocker. Felicia is a blocker. Arena's both, goes both ways. Cedar's definitely a blocker. Hi, Cedar. Andrew, blocker, split block sometimes. Jerome sometimes. Mike Powers is a blocker. Depends on the day. All right. Awesome. Okay, so we have enough people that we want to talk to who are legit blockers, right? If you guys are playing, I also find that when I'm coaching some A players, I find that people are staying at the net too much. If you are playing against somebody who can't hit down into the front 2/3 of the court, it's really not worth blocking them. If you can't jump consistently and get an entire hand over the top of the tape, it's not worth staying and blocking. This is the point where you come and you play a rover position. That doesn't mean that you sit back, right? If you're saying I'm not blocking, you don't sit back in the court. You come to, I'm calling it a rover position, where you make sure that you protect the first 2 touches by being close to the net. You make sure that there can never be an overset for a kill, okay? Raise your hand or type in yes or type in a boo for yourself if you have ever let an overset fall because you peeled too early. The McKibbins have an excellent video on this. Boo is right. It's the worst feeling, right? You leave the net because you know this guy can't hit, but you leave too early and then an overset falls. Or you just choose not to block, period, and you're not anywhere near the net, and then they get a little 50-50 dribbler over the net, okay? So we got to stay at the net and make sure that even if we know we're not a blocker and we can't get a full hand over the net, okay, maybe 2 of us are 5-5 and we're not blockers, that's fine. Play the rover position, make sure that you are protecting the overset. All right, so let's talk about the blocker for a minute. Boop, boop. Ingrosso brothers coming at it. Oh, you know what? I think Latvia's a really threatening on-2 team, but does anybody know Adrian Karambula and Ranieri, Alex Ranieri? Anybody? Anybody? Yes, you've heard of him. Adrian from Florida, now playing with a new guy, an indoor guy, actually. So here we have Jake Gibb and Casey Patterson playing against Ranieri and Adrian. Adrian's an excellent side-out player, but he's a smaller player, and he knows that he has a monster in front of him, and this monster is named Alex Rangieri, however you want to pronounce it. So Alex is an on-2 and point-scoring machine, right? So any chance Adrian has to put him on 2, he's going to take that advantage, right? He's going to make sure that maybe we can see some open nets and just pass well enough to make sure it's on 2. So a lot of the points you'll see here are on 2 options. Okay. All right. So we got the server who runs up, and where does he get? Does it look like he runs straight at the person who's passing, or does it look like he positions himself in between the 2 of them? I think I know the answer. Okay, you guys don't need to answer that. But look at this. Alex knows he's serving Jake Gibb on the right, and he needs to protect the on-2 attack. So he runs between them, right? First, he has to cover the setter so that the setter can't go on 2. After the setter is not a threat, after he knows that, then he can shift to the hitter, okay? This is a super common mistake I see as well. You serve one guy, and then you run directly at him, and then the person gets a perfect pass, and the setter comes in on an open net, uncontested for an on-2 ball. So when you serve and you're running at the net, if you're a blocker, you have to run with, in your mind, protecting the setter, making sure that they can't hit on 2 or stand and hit a flat ball over the net, that no matter what, your hands are up and ready, okay? After that, he shifts, and it looks like a cross block. This is a 4, everybody. So we have a line block. Line block is when the blocker blocks line, right? And the defender plays in the diagonal, or the blocker blocks parallel and the defender is in the diagonal. Then we have a cross block, that's number 2. This is where the blocker is responsible for blocking the hard stuff in the diagonal, yeah? And the defender is sitting stable down the line, down the parallel, okay? If that doesn't make sense so far, can you give me a question mark? Write a question mark if that doesn't make total sense so far, because I can go over it again. Bryce? Okay. So blocker blocking line, right? We'll go over it right here. So right now my blocker is going to be responsible for the diagonal, right? That means that he's reaching into the cross. So if Jakes tries to hit to the left side of the court, right, this is Alex's responsibility right here, right? Making sure that he's taking this cross court. And that means that Adrian, in general, should be responsible for the line, okay? So that would be an example of a cross block, but that's a late move that we got there. Now, if we talk about 4s and 3s, a 3, imagine a 3 as a really late line block and super late positioning, okay? We can go back to it with the McKibbins, where they did that line block, okay? So I want to show you guys a 3 that they did with the McKibbins. How do you decide to block line or cross? Oh, for the hit on 2. That's a good question. How do you decide to block line or cross for the hit on 2? I always run into that problem. Raise your hand if you don't know whether you should block line or cross, or give me like a little question mark if you don't know if you should block line or cross for the on 2. Yeah, raise hand, raise hand, raise hand, raise hand. Good. Okay, that's a really good question, I think. I should have pressed the raise hand button. Sorry. All right. Here's what I do. Here's what me and my teams do. First of all, scouting reports are important. Second of all, what you want to do for hitters is make them change the direction that they're going, because it becomes more complicated. Okay. So if I have, okay, that's that one. We got one before. I'm going to just rewind this just so we're ready for that. Haha, here it is. Okay, so here's a 3 block, right? Anyway, back to the question on 2. You want to take, I'm going to take the path of the hitter. My blocker is going to be in the way of the hitter. So whichever way he's going, I'm going to make sure that he has to change the direction that he's going. And my defender, again, hopefully we can get to a natural state defense so that we can play maybe a line block. But once the defender knows that the blocker is taking line of approach, then the defender is going to cover the other area. Is that clear, Jackie? So blocker is taking the hitter's line of approach, or the setter's line of approach, and making sure that whatever direction he's traveling, cover that. Defender should be alert enough to take the other side of it. If they end up getting 3, 4, 5 on 2 kills, then you say, we got to change something. And then you come up with another plan, right? If somebody scores points on you automatically and easily 3 or 4 times in a row, come up with a new plan. If they score points on accident, where it looks kind of uncomfortable and like gross, and maybe they got lucky or they tape killed or something like that, then you can stick with the same plan for a little bit longer. But until you feel that they're so comfortable and automatic, you don't really have to change your plan. So here's a 3 block. We got a 3 block. Boom, just like this. This is a line block, but it's just really late. All right? So look where Madison is here. Okay? My defender is in his shaded position. All right? That's pretty standard to be in that shaded position. He looks a little bit too middle. He's trying to fool me here. And Madison looks like he is blocking cross, because that's where he's lined up. So I should be feeling him. You see my eyes drop forward here. I feel him in my cross. Okay? Now, at the last moment, Madison, the blocker, is going to dive into my line because he left it open. Some people call it a show and take. or a bait and switch. Okay, so 3 is odd, 1 is odd. Both of them are blocking the parallel, right? Madison throws his hands, heavy line. He made me go for it, right? He gave me all of that cross and he said, go for it, but I'm going to take it late. And he almost had me, but just not enough. That's really close. And that's exactly what they wanted me to do. And I did it, but I just felt like I had more space than they could take up. So I went high off the hands. Okay. So that's a 3 block. Now let's look at Riley back here. Okay. Riley wants to make me think that he's going towards the line, but he has to get into his 1 defense or his 3 defense, right? So he gives me this head fake that makes me think that he's going line. So he jab steps me line, and then he gets into his defensive position, but super late. 3 is faking cross, but blocking line. Yes, 3 is faking cross, but blocking line. Okay? So I hope we have that. 4 block is the same thing, and that's more common than a 3. But a 4 is when we fake like we're blocking line, but block cross. And our defender has to leave super late. And this is usually a case where you have somebody who likes to hit hard cross and high line, because it's really common in a lot of players, right? When you like to hit cross or shoot high line, you can run 4s, which means that you dive into the cross, which we saw Ranieri do on his play, right? We just saw this. So where is he, right? This is an example of a 4 block from the other side. We're faking like we're line, and Adrian back here, he's faking like he is in the cross. And as late as he can be responsible, he moves into that line, and Alex, the blocker, takes a big reach into the cross, right? Normally, we're moving so late that we won't be in time for the hard-driven line. This is more often when you want to walk into a high line, when you think that somebody just likes high line and hard cross, high line and hard cross. So you make sure that your blocker takes that cross, and you just walk comfortably into the line without letting the defense know, okay? And it works here for Alex and Adrian, and they get that big, right? They tricked him into hitting a softer line. They tricked Jake into hitting a softer line, and Adrian kind of walks into that soft line, and they get a dig out of it, and then we'll see where we go. Okay. If you see on this side, continuing with the same defense, setter's about to set. Casey Patterson is in his shaded position, right? And staying in the cross, we got a double call. Okay. All right. Raise your hand if you have, no, don't raise your hand. Wait. I want to make this an easy way. Ask a question if you have a question about 3s or 4s. I want to make sure that I cover that comfortably. We have lines, we have crosses, we have dive line for blocker, and we have dive cross for blocker. That was good. Robert, clear? Thanks, buddy. Okay. Okay, no question. Good. Well, then I'm glad we got to that. We are running pretty low on time, clear on 4. Thank you. Okay. We're running pretty low on time. I want to keep this under an hour, and I want to get some participation from you guys again, just because I'd like to know. I want to know how many hours you've spent playing beach volleyball. And then the second question is how many hours that you've actually been coached by a designated coach, somebody sitting on the side of your court teaching you how to play, where you're going wrong, what you're doing. Okay. I usually find this to be a pretty telling poll, where I have tons of amateur players who want to get better, want to get to the next level, and they just play with no one shining a light, where to go, what to do, and the right moves to make. And then you see the best players in the world who have 1, 2, 3 people standing by the side of their court, all offering advice and all making sure that they can help run the drills smoothly. So it never makes sense to me that you have the best players in the world, they are asking people for help and getting it and paying for it. And then the players who want to be better just go out and play. It never makes sense. Like, would you just go and start trying to repair your own sink, or would you like go on YouTube? Would you go to a webinar? Would you go to somebody and say like, can you teach me how to do this? Go to somebody at Home Depot and say like, hey, can you teach me how to repair a sink, before you flood your house? Large majority of us between 2 and 500 hours. So we got about 40% of us that are between 2 and 500 hours, and we have 45% with more than 500 hours. Okay. We have 53% of us who have been coached for less than 25 hours. It's like so telling, and I'm going to share the results with you guys. Like, that's kind of insane when you want to get better and you aren't taking advantage of like good coaches or people who can run. So that's my little realization. If you want to get better, you just got to find the best teachers. And again, I work for Volley Camp Formosa. It's my company, and we run camps all year round. We're starting some travel camps, and we do it in California. And for the people who have been here, it's 7 nights. Over some of the camps have had over 40 hours of training, which was insane, but it's usually more than 20 hours of training in 1 week. And you're in the beach volleyball mecca, where you can see all of the best players playing like this, like I'm showing you on video, but they're playing live. Everybody's practicing on Hermosa Beach and Manhattan Beach. So just want to bring that point to consciousness that like, you want to get better, there's an opportunity, and I'm one of the ones who are providing it, and there are plenty of other people who are also providing it. Okay, let's get back to business. I want to talk about the blocker and what they want to take up. Let's think of it in terms of the man-to-man defense, okay, when we're blocking. We want to give the hitter a few small choices instead of one big choice, instead of a binary choice. So what I mean is, when you're blocking line, okay, most people just go and they make sure that no matter what, they've protected the line, but nothing else. Okay, that's improper. What makes hitters nervous is not knowing if the blocker is blocking line or blocking cross. And if you position very early and you make big drastic moves and you show with your body mass that you're going directly line or directly cross, if you don't hide it enough, it makes it really easy on the offense. And that's not what you want. Hitters generally feel body mass, right? Sometimes hitters are great at seeing the details of an arm moving or an arm spreading or somebody reaching, right? But in general, in your peripheral, you feel a body mass in front of you. And if your head is on the ball as a blocker, right, and you're in the path of the hitter, so in other words, if my hitter is traveling this way, I want to put my blocker here, right? Even though this might be cross, my hitter's traveling this way, so maybe I'm blocking cross, right? And the hitter is traveling this way, that's not me blocking cross. Me blocking cross is getting in his path and taking majority cross and then leaving some line over here. Okay, that has to sink in, that you have to get in the way of the hitter's line first. He needs to be walking right in the middle of your chest. And then after he jumps, that's when we take those little side moves. Hopefully you're not diving. Hopefully you're moving with your feet first and shuffling into a better position. But we don't want to say, well, I'm blocking line, I had line, and then you turn to the defender who had to, take the other 3/4 of the court, and you say, this is your fault. No. Blocker takes the meat of the court as much as he can while protecting the buckle that he promised. And the buckle, by the buckle, I mean like the back corner of the court. So let's just go to that for a base, for a top. Because I drew a little picture. I don't know if you guys have followed me on Instagram, Mark Burak. And I just made a nice little drawing so you guys can notice my artistic ability. But I want to run a little bit of an experiment with you about shifting, positioning, and where we should block line. So everybody's going to close your left eye, and everybody's going to close your right eye and cover your left eye. Okay? So right eye's closed and left eye's covered, but open. Now, give a thumbs up with your arm straight in front of you. Your arm is straight out. And then keep your left eye open and slowly, slowly, slowly move your hand away until you can see your thumb, right? So this is us playing with angles and what we should take up, right? As soon as we move far enough away, then all of a sudden my left eye can see the tip of my thumb, all right? That's what we have when we're blocking, okay? Right now, this is the back corner, right? So this is the back corner of the court. So we'll say this is protecting line, okay? If my head's the ball and it's this close to the blocker, I have that protected because I can't see this. So the ball can't travel there hard, right? So I have line protected. But if the ball is far off the net, I move my head back, right? So now the set is further from the net. Now I can see my thumb clearly, which means that because I'm off more, I have a clearer path to that back buckle, all right? What my blocker now has to do if he wants to block that line is, if I'm set over here, right, I'm set off the net, now my blocker, who used to be in a good position when there was a tight set, he has to, since we have an offset, shift to protect that line buckle, right? So the further or closer the ball is to the net, that makes you have to change your angle and change what you have to take up, right? A lot of blockers, they'll stay in the same position even if the ball is further off the net. But then you're no longer taking what you promised because the angles have changed. So if the ball is tight, if the ball's set tight, you have the ability to swallow and basically take the entire court. But the further the ball gets off from the net, the more you have to promise your position. You can take less meat of the court, and then you really have to take responsibility for what you called. Give me a yes if that makes sense. Give me a question mark if it doesn't make sense yet. Okay, yes, 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 yes. Ooh, good. Okay, so I think that's like C. Thank you, Spanish. I think that's really, really, really important for us to know that your blocking lineup changes based on A, where the ball is this way, sideways along the net, and you have to make these little 3-inch adjustments sideways based on how far the set is from the net. I've drawn this picture, and I know it's beautiful. I can't like see myself, so I'm hoping. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is my lovely picture. All right, we have this set that's tight, and these little hairs here, that's the blocker. That's how much space they can take up, right? So the first dot, which is right here, this is a tight set. So if my blocker is in the same position, look how much space he takes, right? There's only a couple of slivers that we can hit hard, right? Now, if my blocker is in the exact same position, but the ball is off, my blocker is now taking less space in the court because the ball was set just a couple feet off, right? So now the only thing that my blocker is blocking is this second set of lines right here, designated by the squiggly lines, right? If my set is really far off, maybe people can still attack from a set that's 13 feet off. But now, all of a sudden, in the same blocking position, I've exposed a lot of line, right? I'm still protecting that buckle, but my defender has more responsibility. He has more time to react because he's further away, but he has a lot more responsibility. So this is just simple, like straight line diagram of, look, tight set, blocker can take a lot. Really far offset, my blocker is going to end up taking less court due to the angles. So now they have to be more responsible for shifting over to take this part of the court and protect the buckle or the back corner. And even though that's going to open up more space for the defender, since it's a far offset, my defender should have a little bit more reaction time to take that. So those shifts, those blocker shifts, according to the distance, you have to pay close attention to them, and you have to really, really work on that. And you got to video it from the back of your practice, and you have to sit there and have somebody behind you, you blocking, and them saying, okay, what did you take up? Where was the ball hit from? And you guys can do this with film so easily on your own iPod, they still have iPods, iPhones, GoPro, anything that you can set up, put on your flip-flop, put in your sneaker, which we did my clinics in Vancouver and in New York. Like, people were just putting their phones in their sneakers and recording it and getting so much value out of just watching a few points. So this is a good way to check your lineups to make sure that you're taking away the best and most important angles as a blocker. Okay. Meat of the court. Make sure the hitter feels you. Swallow them first and make sure that you're all over them. And then as that player is hits from further and further away from the net, that's when you go more positional. So I want you to think man-to-man as your primary, right? Just be all over him and take everything, okay? You have to make sure that at least some of what you have promises to take that buckle, to take the corner that you promised. Like if you're blocking cross, make sure you take the cross buckle. If you're blocking line, make sure you take the line buckle, right? And then ball gets further off the net, that's when you shift to more responsibility, or we would call it like zone defense. Okay, I think that's really good. Make the hitter feel you, then shift. Lastly is footwork. Okay, I want to show you guys our blocking footwork. And it's a lot of shuffling and it's a lot of keeping yourself square for the net. Oh man, look at this. Okay, sorry, we spent a lot of time not watching video and I want to watch more video, but this is an example of a good blocker. Alex is in between them, super ready for on-to attack, okay? This is one time where, yeah, he took pretty much line of approach, but then Casey ended up jumping backwards and hitting around him, and that's where we had it, okay? So that's Alex taking space. Look, covers the setter. Look at his hand. His hand raises because he's like, is Casey going to come over and hit on two? He has that hand there to protect it. So if Casey just stands and does this, Alex can go and get a quick hand on it. Okay? So protects it. Then he leaves. This looks like a pretty straight up. So this might look like a cross block to an untrained eye, right? But we see that Jake's coming in to the court, right? And from here, does Jake have that back corner? He might, but his momentum's bringing him in, okay? So Alex comes in with him, and then you have to think about how much of the court Alex is taking. He's taking a ton of it right now. And if Jake can sliver around him down the line, that's gonna be low percentage. You gotta think, am I taking as much court as possible and leaving the rest of the responsibility for my defender? Okay. I think this is a really good example of like, yeah, I'm supposed to block line, but that doesn't mean that I give the hitter a clear runway to hit cross, right? Anybody who has an open net coming forward high and strong, they're gonna kill it. And there's nobody that can dig just sitting there on an open net, and you're not gonna dig it consistently, right? If you leave a clear runway with nobody in front of that hitter, even though you blocked line and you took your responsibility, that's the same as them having an open net. I hope that's clear. Guys, we got just a couple more minutes left. I'm gonna kind of let this tape run, and I want you guys to check it out as we go. And I will be leaving you soon. Ooh, we see it! Man, look, okay. Jake is running towards Adrian, but he adjusts to protect on two, just like that. that big jump in. Boom. Oh, okay. Maybe he's not so much of a threat. But now I can protect Adrian, who comes in. What do we have here? Looks like a 4-block. Diving angle. Big dive angle. And a late shift to line. Oh, he wants it back. Okay. I like it. Lift. Again, we see a blocker who is like being really intelligent and really prepared, paying attention. So he serves short. Got him short. But now that he serves short, his primary responsibility, first responsibility, is protect the setter so that they can't get an open net swing. And that's exactly what Alex does here. Protects the setter. And then he moves to his blocker position. Look, do we know from this position, do we know if he's blocking line or cross? No, this is where he's in a man-to-man position. Jake feels him directly all around the ball. Right? His hands are surrounding the ball. His shoulders are surrounding the ball. Head is right on it. And then he glides himself, taking a lot of court. He is leaving this, but he's also taking a lot of court. And if you have a big blocker that's like this with his armpits over the net, that's insane, right? Like, let him take as much court as possible. He's taking so much right now. So we're going to give him liberty to do that, of course. Okay, and they hit out. So one more, boom. Yeah, protects the on 2. Okay, I wonder what we have here, because this looks like a drastic inside move. All right, it looks to me like he wanted Jake to believe something. So this isn't just a shuffle to position. This is a big move. And then a dive back line. Oh, almost a dive back line. So an over adjustment inside. And then a dive back line, and Jake gets out of it. No, he doesn't. So Alex took just enough, right? Big shift in, and then Alex took just enough to defend that. And that's what happens when you take the meat of the court as a blocker, and then that makes it way, way, way easier for your defender. Last couple of points here. I'm going to let this run, guys, and you can just watch the defenders if you want. You can watch the blockers if you want. But today, defense, we talked about pre-serve, where we should be positioned. After the first touch and before the second, making sure that we're in protect defense. Blocker is protecting the setter, and defender is shaded middle, not direct middle, shaded middle, making sure that you're alert for the on-2 option, right? After that, then you can shift into your defense, and that'll be a good enough base for the most of us to get started. Okay, there is so many things, like when you guys saw Riley try to bait me with a juke, you will see that. You'll see players who are running 3s and 4s, and you'll know that it wasn't them guessing; it was running a 3 or a 4. Sometimes players do guess, but more often they're running 3s and 4s. Okay, especially at this level that you're watching right here. And then you can add jukes, because we know that, like, at our level, AVP, FIVB, everybody is looking, everybody is seeing the court. So this is a time where we have really consistent offensive attackers. So at some point you're going to need to change something or get in their head and say, like, maybe I'm going to fake line but stay in the cross so that you fluff a high line to me. Right? So as a defender, you want to practice your jukes and the timing of that as well. If you fake it too early while the person can see the entire action, they'll see it pretty clearly. But if you fake just late enough as they're taking their eyes off of you, that's when the fake happens and it's believable. Then you can get them, you can get yourself to walk into a nice, easy shot, a nice, easy high line. We didn't get to go over footwork today, which I really wanted. Chase footwork. We can go over it another day, another webinar. I just want to say goodbye by getting a couple more answers, guys. First poll that I'm going to present right here. How much time have you spent watching beach volleyball actively, meaning you're paying attention to, learning, doing things like this? If it's your passion, if it's something you want to do, please let me know so I can get statistics on this. And then how much time have you spent watching yourself play? Because you will learn more watching yourself and comparing it to what the best are doing than you will just watching the best are doing, because you need to have a comparison. Okay, so we have a lot of people who have more than 100 hours watching film of other players, and a lot of people who are under 25 hours watching themselves. It's so easy, guys. We have cameras, we have phones, you can bring them. And when you guys come out to our camps in California, again, we have 7-night camps. They're really good times. I'm gonna give you the dates right now. Dates for those camps, February 18th to 25th. We actually have 16 people from France coming and a couple from New York. That's gonna be a busy week, so it'll be a fun week if you wanna meet French people. There's 16 of them coming. March 18th, April 15th, and then we have our AVP dates, May 6th, May 27th, July 29th, and August 19th. I want you guys to come and watch the AVP tournament before our camp, see the pros do it, see them play, and then during our camp, you'll also get to see them practice, see us practice if my back ever gets better, and then train your balls off. It's a really good time. I'm also offering, I'm going to send a link, so just don't leave this webinar yet. I'm sending a link to everybody who attended through Zoom, which means that you're a part of my email list. If you're not a part of the email list, please go to volleycampformosa.com and sign up. But guys, I am sending you a link that is, should be right here. This is for a discount code, okay? And we do video analysis. That means that we sit for 45 minutes with you and your film, and we have AVP players, FIVB players who are sitting with you just like we did today, except it'll be your film. And I want to take that right here and Apple, copy, boom. All right, anybody who has attended this webinar, I'm sending it in the chat, and you have it right there. The good part about this is, since you have that deal, you guys have first crack, because we are going to end this at 10 people, and it's doing $30 for 45 minutes of video analysis. It's normally a $60 product. We're gonna cut it off as soon as we sold 10. So if you wanna take advantage of it, go ahead, take advantage of it. I'm taking it off the website pretty soon. So make sure you go in. And like I said, if you feel like you've gotten something out of this, something out of watching this film, just imagine how much more you could get out of it by making sure that, you know, we are watching you and critiquing your exact movements and everything that you do. If you want to stick around for Q&A, guys, I'm going to stick around for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And if you have other questions, volleyball questions, defense questions, I'm down to sit here and chat with you and let the video run. But go ahead to volleycampformosa.com, sign up for one of our camps, take advantage of this deal, which is 50% off for video analysis, where you sit down with an actual professional beach volleyball player who watches your match and tells you what to do and when to do it. It's a really good idea. I can't like hide that. So one day we'll get to Footwork. And guys, if you can give me feedback, if you can review Volley Camp Formosa on Yelp, on TripAdvisor, on Facebook, if you guys like this or you loved the free content and the free lessons, please help me build my business and help me pay more of the pro players for coaching and get this going. So we got the People Love Us on Yelp award for 2017, hoping to get it for 2018, and we'd really love some TripAdvisor reviews as well. We are the only company that runs lessons and classes, ongoing classes for people from out of town in California. So head there. And I am sticking around for Q&A. If you want to hang out, go ahead and sit there and ask me questions in the Zoom forum. Or you could always email me some curiosities and maybe I'll make a webinar out of it in the future. And if you are still here, I just need to ask one more question, because I want to know if you want me to run another webinar. If you want another free lesson, I'm going to launch that poll right here, and just let me know the answers to these questions. If you liked it, if you thought the content was good, what can be better, I'm definitely open to critique so that I can be better for you guys. Thanks for coming. If you're peacing out, happy Friday, and have a good one. Good luck in your practice. Good luck in your training, and thanks for letting me be a part of it. Go ahead and fill out that poll if you get a chance. Thanks. Oh, are you going to post this webinar on YouTube? I was hoping I'd get my partner to watch it too. Felicia, are you still there? Okay. So we are going to post it. We're just going to delay it a couple days. We're going to try to run it on YouTube. Thanks, Todd. We'll definitely run more. And I hope to see you out in California. So we are this is going to be on Facebook as a Facebook Live. You can check that out on my personal page, and we'll set up links to it. And we're also going to leave it on YouTube and on the Volley Camp Formosa blog. If you haven't been to the blog section of volleycampformosa.com, we have a ton of drills up there. We have a ton of articles, updates from tournaments around the world, and we are updating our blog constantly. And we've got like a new initiative to really kind of get that going. So, thank you, Snake Wrap. Yeah, so it'll be up on YouTube. Just stay there, and we'll also. I think it's automated to send you a link after you've attended, like within a day. So you should be all right, Felicia. Do girls use 3 and 4 blocks often? Yeah, they do. Arena, are you still there, Arena? Okay. I think they do. I think if you have somebody who is like ultra vision, you know, somebody who can really see a lot, then at some point, if they're seeing you well, you're gonna have to take a late move. Not like a guess. Yeah, I'll you know what, I'll watch. Arena asked if I could show some of the girls match, but you'll see it. If you see people running late, this is gold medalists versus maybe our future gold medalists, Sarah Hughes and Kelly Clays, versus Ludwig and Valkenhorst. If you see them running late while you're watching this video, I'll keep letting the video run. But any sort of late moves, that's a 3 or 4. And you'll see if somebody's positioned in one place for a block and then makes a late shift one way, that could be a 4, especially if you see it with late shift blocker running defender. Then you know that a 3 or a 4 or something happened like that. Okay. Would you be able to also review women's plays? Yeah, you know, I had planned on using a lot more of this match. It's just an hour and 10 minutes has gone by super quickly. And I didn't even get to everything that I, could touch, but you can't cover all of defense in about 40 minutes. So I'll let the women's play continue, but you're gonna see, I mean, majority of the exact same stuff, right? Again, you have to protect the on-2. You have to be there. You have to shift to that on-2 protect position. And then same way, you got to protect the meat of the court as a blocker and leave that defender there. Okay. Any other questions? Maybe I'll check the Q&A forum. Katerina, check the, where is it? I would like to answer this question live. No, wait, I'm going to answer you by text. Answer by text. Katerina, I'm giving you the link again. Go ahead. You will see that there. And again, I'm only going to keep it open for 10 because we keep it at a discount, but we want people to be introduced to the product. So, Katerina, where did you go? Where did you go? Did you leave? Oh, no, she did. She left. All right, I'm sending that link again one more time if you guys want to see it, so you guys can click on that and check it out. We have 10 at 50% price video analysis. You're here, thank you. There you go. All right, Q&As, I'm checking this for the next 5-10 minutes, and then I'm out of here. It's my Friday, got some more work to do, and then I can have some fun. Is there a fake line block pickup cut? Fake line block pickup cut. Todd's got some good questions. Todd, are you still there? Okay, cool. So let me get to your questions. I'm going to answer as a blocker, how do you know when to block with your hands together versus arms apart? The first question you asked, I'm not sure what you mean. So I'm going to ask this. Hands together versus arms apart. A lot of people, when we start early, we think that we can't let a ball pass through our hands, right? Can't be wider than a ball because, if it hits through my head, then that's my fault. But here's what we have to remember, that statistically, remember we talked about hitters feel body mass, right? And we try to hit around that as an offensive player. So if you block inside of your body mass, you're blocking exactly where I feel you, where I'm trying to hit around you. So you want to be just wider, maybe straight in front of your shoulders, maybe slightly outside of your shoulders. Even if you're going to let a ball pass through here, right? Hitters in general, most often are not thinking, there's a seam right above his head, that's what I'm going to go for. Just becomes unlucky. Since most hitters try to hit around the body mass, we block just outside this. If we get too wide, then we're not penetrating. We're not taking enough court, and the only things above the net are like, a couple of hands. So we can't get high enough if we go super spread eagle, and we get no penetration. So we're actually taking up less court, like that little experiment. So most often you're blocking just outside your shoulders or just extensions of your shoulders, right? Because that's where you're taking up the right space. And there is a time to put two hands on the ball, and that's when it's tight. When you can go and grab it, or that you can surround it so the ball's right here and you can put your hands all over it, that's when you can go and smother it. When the ball is close enough for no angles to be allowed outside of your body, right? Because if the ball's right here and I go around it, then I've left space for it. But if the ball's so tight to the net that I can block any part of it from getting around my hands and into the court, that's when I'm going to put my hands around the ball. I hope that answers that question. Sam, are you still there? Okay, if you're not there and you still have that question, Sam, and you're looking at this later, just email me. And we've talked on the phone and email before, so shoot me that question. Blocking hand position, say you're blocking line, to use both hands to take the line or try and take some additional court. Mike Powers, are you still there? Sorry for using your last name. Mike, are you there? Sounds like he left. He had a good question though. I basically did answer it. Okay, right. If we're taking here, then that's like a full commitment to that zone, to taking a small zone, instead of making sure that this one hand is protecting what I need it to protect, and the other hand is still taking like meat a lot of the court. All right, good question for that. So with a 4 block, the blocker jumps into the cross and defender runs to the line. Is there a call where the blocker jumps in the cross and defender runs to the cut? Todd's got a good question. He calls a 4 block, and he's like, well, what if we want to block hard angle and cut shot? You're really committing at that point to somebody who loves cross court, right? If you want to run a 4 block where you're diving angle and then you have a defender running into the angle, it's not impossible. For me and for teammates that I played with, this, those are calls for the blocker. There is a certain amount of responsibility that I have to take up my responsibility, but a defender still needs to play like sort of like a free safety position where, all right, I know what you're doing. I know what your responsibility is. We'll call it more like a running back in football, Super Bowl weekend, right? There's a play designed, and the blockers are supposed to create holes, right? What happens if one of those holes gets filled and the play didn't work by design? Now the running back has to be creative, and they have to go where they see an opening, right? Or where they get a read. So that's what you can do. And often you'll see like a blocker turn around and yell at their defender and be like, I had line, and you weren't in the cross. Well, the defender needs a certain amount of freedom back there as well. right? Just as the blocker does. Because the blocker is blocking line and a hitter's coming in hard cross, it's their job to go and stop that. You don't just let somebody run through on a freight train and have an open net like we talked about before. So, yeah, this is the call for the blocker. And in general, it's the call for the defender. But you still have to have a certain freedom, athleticism to make the choices and fill the holes that you need to fill. That's what he said. Sam is still here. Jeremy, go grow the game, brother. Good, Sam. Sam, you asked a question. Does the defender know or care if it's a 3 to 4 block, or do they just need to know the outcome of the block? Now, that's a good question. Like, if I call this or if I call this, like, you do need to know that, because you need to know what window is going to be open in the end. So if that makes sense, right? If I call this or if I call this, I need to know if he's going to dive there or if he's going to position there or if he feels like he's already positioned there, because I need to know if windows are going to stretch or close, because that'll help me find my position as a defender better. Any more questions? Do you have a decision procedure for dropping from a block, distance of set from net, or timing? Aaron, I'm actually going to send you to my buddies, the McKibbins. They have a YouTube channel, and they have a great post up about blocker decision making on peels. So check them out on YouTube, MCKB Volleyball, I think. And they have a really great post that should answer all of that. But in general, you're peeling after you see the result of the set. That's when you're allowed to leave, not when you see a bad pass, not when you see like the person setting, but you need to see the result of the set and if it's coming over or not. If it's not a 50-50 ball or if it's not coming over, then you can drop when you need to. But you have to see the hitter, see what position they're in, because there are some hitters that can still, a set at half court, be coming forward and hitting down hard from a set from half court. If they're sliding backwards and they're falling backwards, that's usually a time where we have an opportunity to block, right? Anytime you see a hitter moving backwards or stopping or breaking, they're losing some power, so that's when you can that's when you can leave. But a lot of it has to do with the position that you see the hitter getting themselves into, more so than if you block. And of course, man, that's different by athlete. Like some guys that you'll play against can never hit a ball down in the front 2/3 of the court with pace. So unless it's a 50-50 set or an overset, you're never going to block. Thanks, Onisimos or One Zemos. Appreciate it. Thanks for your compliment. Do you suggest to stay for the block if the attack is off the net? Arena, you got to know your team's strengths. There are certain blockers who are fantastically massive and huge individuals that take up a lot of space at the net, but as soon as they peel or leave the net, they are hopelessly defenseless with high hands actions. So if I'm playing with somebody like that, who I know that like their defensive ability is 10% of their blocking ability, I'm gonna say stay at the net, like slow balls down, let me get to them. But you need a pretty big person to make that calculation. There are times where like you just never want them to pull, or you want them to pull the majority of the time. If you got like a 6-foot blocker on a men's net, maybe they're peeling more because they're more defensively capable than block capable. So you can sort of get some people. You just don't want somebody running on a full approach, knowing that there is an open net and coming forward at it. That's a nightmare for everybody. Aaron Q. How do you position yourself in distance from the back line and sidelines and cross-court defense behind the line block? How do you position yourself in distance from the back line and sideline? You're trying to take as much court as possible. You're trying to get in the line of approach, Aaron. So you still like these windows that we talked about here. It's your job to be in a position where you're filling them. If you're in too close, if this is the only window you have left, right? But you're sitting your heels so that every ball above your heels is out of bounds, that's not going to be to your advantage. If you're also sitting too close to the net, which I had a tendency to do 2 years ago, I would run in at the net and like, I don't know, I thought I had like some big balls or something, and I would just say like, I can dig anything up with my hands, but then I would just get hit with balls. I would just get hit with them instead of like giving myself the opportunity to dig them. So you have to find, you can't be sitting at half court and you can't be sitting way back. Generally, we're about 3/4 distance. And you have to find the positions that say like, am I maximizing the space that I can take up? And you're really only going to see that when you start watching yourself on film. And we can help you with that if you sign up for one of those packages. So I hope that answers it. And I know, Aaron, it's not like an exact answer, but you have to see on film how much space you're taking up and if the hitter even had an opportunity to hit that way fast. Yeah. Does a 3 or 4 cut down on the height of the blocker versus a straight up jump? Yes, it does. Good question, Sam. Like sometimes 3s or 4s make us a little bit lower than we could possibly be. So there's the risk in that. It also makes you a little bit less formed. Your hands have to be focused in creating the right angle so that if it does hit off your hand, you know, it goes back into the court and it's not like my hands just aren't like shaped like this or like this or like this, so it reflects out of bounds. So there's a lot of focus that you need instead of like, oh, I can press and put my hands like this every time. Well, now can you shape so that when you dive, this arm doesn't turn like this? Can you make a 4 block where your hand doesn't turn inside and then just hits off and keeps going? Can you keep your hands shaped? So yeah, you're going to be lower once you're reaching outside your body, but it's a gamble we take. GoPro it is. I like it. All right, guys. I appreciate you spending your time with me. If you're not on the email list, go ahead and sign up, volleycampformosa.com. Again, we are cutting it off at 10 of those video analysis deals, 45 minutes for $30. You send us your tape. We'll put you with myself or any of the other pro staff that we have, and you get to sit with them just like this, but one-on-one, looking at your game, your practices, and it's so super valuable. So I hope you do it. I hope you join us for a camp, hopefully an AVP camp. Come out, see a tournament, and then train with us. And shoot me a message. Shoot me a review. I'm always open. Hopefully I see you guys at camp. And happy Friday. Later.